Hello friends, welcome back to Young Wisdom. If you are new to my channel, my name is Tiling Choli Sangdam and I am doing my masters in clinical psychology, and here with us today we have Sam.
Hello.
Sam is also doing his PhD in clinical psychology. I suppose so, right?
Yep.
Yes,
Sir.
yes. So this time we actually came here for picnic, hostel picnic, and then we have people around us. Some they are fishing, some playing, some singing, and a lot of things going on. And we like, what's the number of our hostelers, Sam?
About 70 to 80.
Yeah, like we are big in number.
Wow, big number.
So really, because look at the place, it's so good that I didn't want to miss a video.
Yeah.
So I asked Sam if we can just make
Ling
a quick.
is an opportunist, so we
Yeah.
can see that. You know.
So I thought I asked Sam if we can just make a quick video, maybe talk about something that we both can really, discuss upon without really having a deep research or study. And then he agreed to. So what we'll do in this video is maybe we'll bring few of our maybe favorite psychologists, some of the psychologists that we love. Maybe Sam can bring two psychologists. We can bring two psychologists and maybe discuss a bit about them and why we like or why we love or why we agree upon their theories or why we agree upon their ideas. Right, Sam?
Yep.
So we do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Sam,
go
like,
first.
okay.
Alright.
So see, we'll just walk and talk.
Sure.
Yeah. Freud is my man, and I adore a lot and I admire a lot about Freud's ideas, and I'm sure that Freud is one of the most controversial psychologists ever. But I'm sure that there are a lot of things that we fail to unfold and discover about Freud's idea. We'll just take a difficult road here. I like Freud because his contribution to psychology is huge. That's one. So the idea of unconscious in the field of psychology, or for that matter, the first idea of unconscious was started by Freud. And Freud's idea of unconscious spread like a wildfire, where slowly psychologists and people from different fields started to study deeper about the idea of human unconscious. So I consider Freud as a human time machine. And why do I say so? Because Freud, helps our mind get back to the past. For Freud, anything that your present is going through, right, and maybe the struggles, the mental struggles, illness that you're going through, it's because of your unconscious. They are repressed memories. They are things of your unconscious that disturbs your conscious present state. And so when shall we go back? Let's just go back and like Freud is like the time machine, human time machine for me. Everything about his idea of unconscious, it all takes us back to the past, right? Because nowhere in human history somebody has helped us understand our past better than Freud. And so that is one big reason. There are a lot of reasons why I love Freud, but that is one big reason why I would really pick Freud for many good reasons.
Okay.
Of course, like I also have equal amount of criticism for Freud, but since he is one of my guy in the field of psychology, so that's why I love Freud. And let's hear from Sam what he thinks about.
In psychology. I agree with many of the things you said, no doubt. Okay. Freud laid the foundation for psychological development, right? With regards to the theories and behaviors and all these things. That's with that I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
But there are some things to be said about Freud as well, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I would put forward to you is how did he derive his theories, right? That's one of the things.
Yeah.
Because in psychology and in research, we know that in order to make our research more generalizable and then more high in validity and reliability,
Right.
we have to, you know, take a good sample of all the populations, right?
Yeah, because like
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have to undergo through
yes,
like
rigorous, you know,
yeah,
sampling methods and
structured
strategies, no?
methodology,
Structured
right?
methodology,
Yeah.
okay. But with regards to so one of the issue I have with Freud, no? I
Yeah.
agree with most of the theories he says, okay, regarding the unconscious, you know,
Yeah.
and that's true also.
Yeah.
Because as human beings, we repress those unpleasant memories, and then whether we try to ignore them, right? But it, you know, at the background, like the icebergs analogy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Metaphor.
analogy of yeah.
So even though we try to forget them and just repress them into the back of our minds, uh, it always, you know, influences in one way or the other, right? So
Yes.
that's with that respect, with that aspect, I agree with Freud. But
Okay.
regarding the sampling method which he used, we know that Freud took only certain
Yeah,
populations of the society,
and
right?
yeah,
And most of his samples, you know,
yeah,
the subjects which he took were in
yeah,
the high class, the middle
yeah,
class
yeah,
classes of his
yeah,
society, of his times, right?
yeah,
So that's one of the issue I have with Freud. And
yeah.
and yeah, and the second issue I have
Yes.
with Freud is that his theories are mostly deterministic. I know you are a person who reads a lot about determinism and free will, right? now,
Right,
now,
right.
yeah, coming to the
Yeah,
the idea of this determinism.
right.
See, with regards to Freud, most of our actions are determined by the past, though, right?
Yes,
For example,
yes.
you suffer from
Right.
childhood trauma or sexual trauma in the past.
Yes.
Now that is going to determine your future,
Present.
your present and
Yeah.
future, right? It's like
Yes.
there's no way out for you to be completely healed uh,
Um.
of that traumatic memories.
Yeah.
Let's say. So, so sometimes, yeah, when you think about it, Freud, I believe that he had the best of intentions in developing his theories. Okay,
Right.
but certain things we should consider because as see in positive psychology, Martin
Yes.
Seligman and Carl humanistic theories like
Yes.
um, the theories developed by Carl Rogers or Viktor
Rogers.
Frankl,
Yes.
Martin Seligman, and so on, right?
Yes.
So what all of them, among all the things they have said, what they commonly proposed was that
Right.
as human beings, right,
Yeah.
we have the free will.
Ah.
As human beings,
Yeah.
we naturally strive for
Yeah.
growth and progress, right?
Yes. Yes.
But with regards to Sigmund Freud,
Freud.
there is no, you know, there's
No
no
room for improvement.
Room for improvement. Just
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
life, present, and future is just determined by your past, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, in that area, in that aspects, I have to disagree with Freud
Yeah.
and say that as human beings, we have a natural tendency to
Right.
strive for growth, to pursue something which is meaningful and purposeful. Okay,
Yes.
that
Shall we
is
just
my idea
go there? Yeah.
on Sigmund Freud.
What?
So, what do you have to
No,
say
no, no.
about
I do agree with you.
that? Beautiful place, man.
Yes, it's a beautiful place. So, no, I do agree with you a lot when it comes to because we all can come into agreement that Freud's work was not scientific at all. First of all, so to bring a firm scientific conclusion is a difficult
It's
thing.
hard, no?
Yeah, but nevertheless, we know how deep Freud's ideas were.
So yeah, we cannot deny that his theories were really in depth, and like you said, he's like a time machine, right? Because you know, his theories are really true and
Yes, he takes you to the past.
it takes
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so no doubt, and it's just to add that we as human beings, and then we know that the strongest instincts in man is the sexual instincts and the aggressive
Yes.
instincts, right?
Yes.
So these have been they are existing since time immemorial, since civilizations of man. So these are the two impulses, let's say,
Right.
which is the strongest, right? That
Yeah.
we human beings possesses.
Okay.
And how well a person you become is you know, determined by
Yeah.
how you know
So
balance
all-
those instincts, and then you know let your super ego and or the balance between your ego and then your super ego, right?
Right.
So how well you maintain that balance, you will, you know, be depending on that, you will be a good person or either a bad person, right?
Yeah.
In short, that's Sigmund Freud in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And what theory do you want to talk about
No,
now?
I do think that we have a lot to maybe agree and
Unpacks it,
disagree,
okay.
and maybe talk a little deeper on Freud's work. To some extent, I can really agree to what you say about Freud, because in a lot of ways, that is why like Freud's theory was controversial, right? More than any others.
Is
I do
needed
think that
for
we
anything.
will maybe go a little, maybe come up with a little better knowledge about what we have about those psychologists that we know. Maybe bring a series where we'll put all the psychologists into a battle, and let's see who stands out.
Battle.
Right. What do you think? Who do you favor as a psychologist? And
For
do
me,
you have like an intellectual hero, or
For me,
somebody from the field of psychology that you really look up to?
a psychologist which really inspires me, the 20th century psychologist, okay, which I look up to, is one, Viktor Frankl, the existential school of thought, the founder of logotherapy,
Yeah.
and then Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
So those were two psychologists which I would recommend to anyone. Go check it out, and then you'll get a knowledge which you might not have found anywhere else. Right?
Okay.
So
Why do you think Frankl is so influential to you?
oh, why not? So
Somebody is hiding
there
here.
is a
Hello guys, welcome
Hello.
back to my channel.
This is going straight to YouTube, okay?
Oh bro.
no worries, man.
Yeah. So why Frankl?
Why Frankl?
Yeah. Maybe like
You want a long explanations or just
No, no.
a short summary of?
You don't want to know about the Holocaust
Okay, take it.
thing about Frankl, but what is the Frankl's idea that really inspires
Okay,
you? Like
so,
that is powerful and effective.
I would summarize like this, okay? So from Viktor Frankl and in the existential school of thought, what I've learned is that as men, we should pursue meaning instead of happiness.
Right.
Or in other so in other words, we should rather pursue something which is meaningful to us, right? Rather than something which is pleasurable or momentary gratifications of the of the desires or of our impulses, right? So again, what I've learned is that, and why I look up to him, is that his teachings on why we should pursue meaning, something which is meaningful, right? So let me just quote Nietzsche, right? So Frankl was also inspired by Nietzsche, a philosopher. So it goes like this. So the quote is, "He who has a why to live for can be
Yeah, anyhow.
Yeah, can be.
Yeah, can be.
Yeah. So that's the quotations which is really helps you in any kind of situations to arise, fall, stand up, then face the world.
Yeah, I think what I like about Frankl, okay, like we know the story of Frankl and the struggle in the Holocaust. What I like about Frankl is that Frankl, unlike Freud, Freud thinks that human behaviors or human behaviors are motivated by the past. Human behaviors are in a way structured by the past events, right? And past memories. And then that really shapes our behavior, human personality, let's say. Whereas Frankl states that human beings, human behaviors and human personalities are shaped by meaning. And why are human beings by nature as striving beings, right? Like why do we strive for? Why? Because like we all have meanings, and every human beings are innate, responsible to drive forward to live a meaningful life. And so like there is always that meaning at the top of the hierarchy, and as we live a life, we are progressing, and we are going towards finding the meaning of life, right? And so like Frankl brings that, because no doubt that he is an existentialist, but the beauty I should say that the authenticity in his work is how he connects human human the highest goal in every human individual, and how he connects with the meaning that motivates human striving forward, right? Like human, because behind every progress, and why do human beings strive forward? It's because there is a meaning, and we all fight to find the meaning, and that is Frankel. And so I think for that reason, I would, because no doubt that as human beings, rational thinking beings, we know that their life is not meaningless, and we at least know that life is meaningful. Like when we live a life, then we strive to find the meaning. So that is about Frankel, right? So like for that reason,
Striving
I
for
like-
meaning.
Yeah. And his book, Man's Search for Meaning.
So
Yeah. So
that book, I really, if there's going to be
like,
one book
do
which,
you?
which you would read this month or this year, I think
Yeah.
I would recommend that book, no doubt.
Yeah, Frankel.
Mass of Meaning.
Yeah, and then do you not think that Viktor Frankl is also somehow, you know, engaged in the ideas of Stoics philosophy?
Stoics.
Yeah, because out of struggles you find meaning, right? Like out of struggles you find,
Maybe.
like you find a way out of, those difficult times and chaos. Find life out of that. You can find good ways out of all the destruction, right? So like striving for meaning in a way that even if you go through the worst of the worst situation and times of life, there are possibilities that you can find way out of it, and you can still find meaning out of the struggles.
Yeah. So just to add to your point, since we're talking about the struggles and the the pains in life, so what the existential school of thought or logotherapy teaches us is that
Yeah.
most of the cases of depression, let's say, or misery in life, or anxiety, and so on and so forth, most of them, if not all of them, are caused because of these three reasons, right? So according to Viktor Frankl, huh? So, so the three things are not finding any purpose, not finding any work, not engaging in any purposeful work, right? That's the first thing. First thing, not engaging in any purposeful work. The second thing is not having any stable relationship or love, in other words. And then the third thing is not finding that courage, to pursue these two things in life. So those are the three things which Frankl would say that causes something called existential crisis or existential frustrations, right? So that is, and that is true also.
Yeah.
As human beings, we are all, social creatures. We cannot live without any connections or stable, solid relationship or love.
Yeah.
So, and it's no wonder that introverts, right? Introverts, in if we compare introverts and extroverts, introverts are those people. I mean, it's found that the case of depression, anxiety, or stress are found mostly in the introverts, right, than the extroverts as compared to the introverts. Extroverts.
That's interesting because I am planning a episode with Sir Jason where we'll talk about personality, and personality and mental health, which would relate to what you are saying right now. Okay, anyway, can we shift to one or two more psychologists? Can we talk about
So you do the choosing now.
Adler? Alfred Adler.
Adler, right.
Like Adler is known for his work of individual psychology, right? Like the what do I say? The shift from inferiority to superiority. So like, would you agree that every human beings born or somehow have a sense of inferiority in us?
No doubt, no doubt. All of us have a sense of inferiority, right? It
Yeah.
could be caused by so many things, but
Yeah.
but the truth is that all of us have this
So actually,
inferiority complex.
yeah, like a few years back when I was doing my work on my still not a theory yet, but my concept of self-elimination. I really condemned the idea of Adler's idea of individuals striving from inferiority to superiority. So like just want to ask you. Now I've changed my mind. Now I have more. I have soft corner for Adler now.
Okay.
Like for some reason.
Can I ask you why
Yeah.
you change your mind?
Because I changed.
What is the differences of ideas, or let's say?
Yeah, because
Adler?
my theory states that human beings, they are people who find themselves inferior to others, and when they, what do I say? When they jump into that like sinking boat, I should say, like there are less chances of coming back. You know what I mean? Like not everybody has the high level of motivation. Not everybody is resilient. Not everybody can bounce back, right? So when people have inferiority complex, there's no way that that inferiority complex will motivate them to achieve something superior, right? Like to attain something better. In fact, that sense of inferiority tracks them down, puts them down, right? Like it keeps them low. Like there's no way that they can come back, right, themselves. My theory would state that, Adler's theory is not a good concept for like, especially when it comes to people who are socially isolated. For them, you know, it's hard to achieve superiority from the state of inferiority. So that is why I've criticized Adler's theory and Adler's idea that every human beings have a sense or a state or a space where we find ourselves inferior in some ways, and that is the mechanism that motivates us to attain the state of superiority. Now, what made me change my mind when it comes to Adler's individual psychology, and especially like the journey from state of inferiority to superiority, is because um, every human beings are capable of improving. Human beings are capable of striving forward, right? So it's like superiority is like, this is like a ontological idea of perfection. Like we somewhere we don't know like what anything perfect looks like, right? Like we know what water bottle looks like, but we somehow have the idea of perfect water bottle, right? But we don't exactly know how the perfect water bottle should look like. Or we have the idea of perfect human being, but we don't exactly know like how a perfect human being should be like, right? So we have the ontological idea of perfection. It goes beyond my admiration for his idea. Like there is deep things rooted inside Adler's individual psychology. So like Adler, according to me and how I see Adler's idea, is that human beings always have a preconception about something perfect or something better, and that makes their state better. It's like it's like a continuous striving for perfection, right? It's like no way that we can attain the state of perfection,
But the striving,
yeah, it helps, it keeps you improving, it keeps you moving forward.
it's like the verse in the Bible, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you can never be perfect like
Yeah.
God. That's, you have to be eternal, right? To be like God. So that's impossible. But what matters here is that, but what matters here is not the attainment of perfection,
Yeah.
but the perseverance, right?
Yeah,
The strivings
perseverance.
to be good or to be perfect.
Yes,
So
yes.
that matters more than
Yes.
perfection itself.
Right, right.
Right? Because that we can never
Right.
attain. Yeah.
Alright. So that is about Adler that I love.
Adler.
Okay? And then there are a lot of things about Adler that I love, but because I was a strong critic of Adler, like I criticized Adler's theory,
right.
and then my previous university's professors knows that I did not like Adler at all. But at the end, I found something special about Adler, and so if I have to rank psychologists, then Adler is also there.
Okay,
You know what I mean? So like he's not.
Top 5, top
Yeah,
10.
I was
List
not.
top 5.
Yeah, I was not a good friend of Adler's theory, but now slowly I'm shifting towards liking him.
Okay.
So now, who shall we talk about?
Maybe you can pick, because I've picked 2 right already.
Yeah, but I suppose you like Jung, right?
Carl Jung. Carl Jung, I
The
kind
big
of,
things.
or if you want to speak about Jordan Peterson,
Oh, Peterson, yeah. Why do you like Peterson?
what's there not to like about Peterson, guys?
Really?
Come on. I mean, okay, so okay, just to begin with,
Yeah.
I think right now he's the most
Influential.
influential person in the world, right? So yeah, and that I agree. Okay, I agree, absolutely agree. Why? Because he's out there challenging youth to to come out of their comfort zone, to strive for meaning, to strive for responsibility, right? And not to indulge in any forms of actions or things which would make us regret later in life. So so like and just to just in short, just to summarize, he's a person who proposes ideas like you should pursue happiness, pursue meaning, not happiness, right? So that's the idea I got from him. Okay, and then
I think I think there is a small error there in a sense because one of his book,
we were
12
got
Rules for
12 rules
Life,
for life.
huh?
Yeah.
There's a chapter. Was it chapter 5 or 7? I don't remember exactly. The book somehow talks about strive for something meaningful and not something something expedient. Meaning
Expedient.
like something that
Expedient, which
something that's pleasurable
okay,
and
okay.
immediate gratification.
Well,
Yeah. So.
that doesn't. There's not much difference. Strive
But
for meaning,
happiness,
not happiness.
happiness and pleasure and gratification.
Because
They have,
why I said that is because happiness is mostly with. I mean, happiness is mostly emotion, right? Emotion. When bad things comes, that happiness just goes away, vanishes in thin air, right? So why should you pursue something? Obviously, we can debate that happiness sometimes is subjective also, but for okay, so in this respect, happiness is something which is mostly regards to emotions, the good feelings, the pleasurable feelings, the gratifications of the senses, let's say, those, or you have any idea of what happiness is?
happiness to me, at least to me, my definition of happiness is the state of contentment.
Contentment.
Yeah, because but pleasure does not really make you content about anything, right? The feeling of wowness for like momentary wowness, right? Momentary satisfaction, but happiness is something extensive and happiness is something bigger than pleasure, I would say. So like I would kind of debate and argue upon your kind of definition of happiness, but nevertheless, like let's carry on. Why do you like Peterson?
Peterson. So the thing he proposes and then he speaks the most, right? From what I've heard, according to me,
Yeah.
is taking up responsibility.
Yeah.
And then living your life in order, putting your life in order, right? And you may hear of the common phrases which he always use: clean your room, right? Order your room, something like that.
Yeah.
So Peterson, why I like him is because he emphasizes so much on challenging the youth to take up responsibility. Step into your identity, take up responsibility, pursue something which is meaningful, and not just something which is temporary, something like immediate gratifications, right?
Yeah.
And then he also gives an idea of your this present self and then your future self, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do something in the present which your future self would be proud of, right? Not which your future self would regret later. Those are, those are some of the reasons the reason why I like Peterson so much, right? So
To me, Peterson is like a finger that pokes your weakness. It's like it pokes your weakness, and you see, here's your weakness, and don't run away from your weakness. Strengthen your weakness. That is Peterson to me, and I would not disagree that anything psychological or philosophical or political, let's say that. Peterson talks about it. I definitely agree with it, especially psychological things that he discusses and he talks about. Like he's precise, and then he's sure about what he's talking about. But when he talks about God and religion, like I'm not so convinced by
why?
his
Why
ideas.
is that?
See, everything to him about God is metaphorical, abstract, and
Are you sure?
something not scientific.
Because you might want to have take a look at what he's saying. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like he kind of accepts now that he kind of accepts the historical
Accounts of Jesus.
accounts
right.
of Jesus.
And that Jesus was a God. That he accepts.
Yeah,
Right.
no, he does not really accept, but he's not willing to engage in that discussion.
You remember
know what I mean?
you remember the questions which Alex O'Connor asked him, right?
Yeah.
You have a Panasonic
But-
camera,
yeah.
puts in the tomb of Jesus. So what the question was,
Yeah.
do you think that this camera
Yeah.
would capture Jesus, the dead Jesus, walking out of this tomb
But you know-
alive, right?
yeah,
And he says yes.
Yeah, but you also know how hard it is for Peterson to answer precisely those kind of questions, and he always tries to avoid that kind of question.
He do not think like us, right?
No.
He thinks
I do get it. No.
Okay.
But there are historical evidences and accounts about Bible, right? Where we can rely on. Like, we know that Bible in itself is a library, and there are different genres and there are different ways to talk about Bible, and especially God. Like who can really explain and define God? And I'm sure that nobody can.
Nobody.
But anyhow, when I ask you who God is to you, then you can precisely tell who God is, right? Like,
First of all, in order to understand God or explain Him fully, you have to be a God, because God is eternal, right?
No,
Eternal,
no.
But it's okay.
But at least to
at
you,
least.
who
I can give an idea, a shadow, let's say,
Yeah.
a shadow of who God is, but
to you at least.
nobody can completely comprehend God. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay.
No, nobody can completely comprehend, explain, define God, right? Like, sure that nobody can.
Yep.
It's not like we know nothing about God, right?
yeah.
At least we know something about God. At least you know who God is to you, right? We are not talking about universal truth about God, right? Like, nobody can explain, bring something absolute that God is this, right? I don't know what's funny to you, but but at least you can define who God is for you, at least.
So we're talking philosophy now.
Yeah,
All right,
we are
man.
kind
If
of
you want to.
we are kind of shifting, but that's something that I don't like about
Peterson.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
I agree. I agree.
because how hard it is for him to accept that Jesus exists, right? Like, there are historical evidences, accounts that Jesus exists in this human world as a human being, right? Like, it's so hard for him to accept that, and I don't know why, man. But like, so as said, anything that he talks about, philosophical or political or psychological, I'm there, like, all in. But things that he talks about Jesus, like, and he used the idea of God, Jesus, and Bible as some kind of ideal figure of life, right? Ideal life.
Mythical figure.
Yeah, and like, he's like the, what do I say? Like, Jesus is the figure that portrays the ideal moral life, right? So, but when we look about Jesus, at least in the Gospels, Jesus himself rebukes and hates moralists, Sadducees, Pharisees, who can just discuss and talk about the ideal figure of life and how life should be present in this world and so and so forth.
Yeah.
But they don't live by it. So, like, Peterson also used, like, any other biblical stories and figures as something meaningful, something that you can extract ideas and extract meaning out of the stories and from the character of the people in the Bible. But does not account it as something historical. So, in that sense, like,
He's a very difficult man to understand, no doubt, right?
Yeah,
Just check his book.
and I'm sure that
it took us years to understand his book. for example.
and I'm sure that see, stylistically, Peterson is so much influenced by Nietzsche,
Nietzsche,
and then
Dostoevsky.
and a lot of others, philosophers, Russian
Carl Jung,
philosophers,
mainly Carl Jung,
Jung,
okay.
yeah, Jung. But no, when there are times, there are ways to be precise. And he's not precise when he's supposed to be precise. You know what I mean? And yeah, and then it's sure to me and to everyone that complex things can be made simple, but we cannot make it deep things simple. That I would agree. I'm in the halfway reading Vihuresa Vidkan. I've read all of it, and maybe I've not understood everything that Peterson is trying to, bring out of his works, but I've read about it. He's precise in writing,
Okay.
at least in his 12 rules for life and 12 more rules for life. But when he talks about God, it's like, no, I'm not really interested in listening to metaphorical idea of God.
But I hope he's coming to the point. This
Yeah.
stage, right? At least.
Yeah, he is.
He's changing his ways of
Yeah, I hope he
his
does.
strategy of speaking,
Yeah,
presentation.
So anyway, like that was a big
I think-
discussion.
By the way, this is an impromptu interaction, so we didn't have any prior preparations to to have these interactions. So excuse us for that,
Yeah,
and maybe we'll
yeah.
do it better next time.
You can just agree or disagree with anything that we say, right? Like we are open to that. Yeah. So see you in the next video.
Okay, bye.